Hey, Demi. How are you? How are you? How art thou?
Hey, 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 hey.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Dating Differently with
Demi.
and Dr. Conti. We are super excited to be here as always. Share. Tell all your friends. When you pop on, let us know that you are on here so that we can get to see your comments. And of course, as many of you already know, Demi and I have combined our expertise to create a strategic roadmap that helps you first prepare for healthy love, as always, and to be confident, choose with clarity, and to sustain the right relationship. And today, we're going to be talking about a pretty interesting topic. And that topic is, what's the topic, then?
Making something out of nothing.
Yes, making something out of nothing. Relationships, sometimes you create something in your mind,
Yeah.
and it isn't the relationship that you're actually in. So sometimes we create stuff that's really not there. So today we're going to be talking about something that destroys more relationships than red flags ever could. It's our imagination. Sometimes we don't fall in love with the person, we fall in love with the story we've written for ourselves. Right,
Mhm.
Debbie?
Absolutely. Because we've all experienced it. We were just talking about it. We say one thing and the other person hears something completely different. It happens with our children, it happens at work, it happens with friends,
Mm-hmm.
but especially in dating.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I always say, have you ever stopped and said, what did you hear me say? Because what they heard was something or was nothing close to what you said. So the reality is people don't always hear our words. They hear them through the filter, really just of past experiences, insecurities, expectations, desires. So it really becomes more noticeable, like you said, when you're in this dating world, dating atmosphere, specifically with someone romantically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I said a simple compliment becomes like a declaration of interest.
Mm-hmm. Like, oh, he really likes me, girl. He said how pretty my hair is. Well, your hair is pretty.
Or if someone doesn't text you back as quickly as you thought they should, then it becomes immediate rejection.
Mm-hmm.
Man, he ain't about nothing. She ain't
Mm-hmm.
about nothing.
Mm-hmm.
A casual conversation just becomes this promise of a future together.
Mm-hmm. I always have this running joke, but it's the truth. Many times, we as women date to get married. Most of the time, we're not just out there dating. Most of the time, we're dating. We've already got in our mind. So you come home and after the first date, a lot of women are already trying on their last name on the back of your first name. And you may have gotten a compliment and you really feel like now this is the one. And so we want to make sure that we are aware, because that's not really what dating differently is about. It's about changing that mindset. And sometimes we don't always see what is, like you said, based on what you come to the table with. So you want to sometimes see the truth, but a lot of times we always talk about those rose colored glasses. We
Yeah.
go in and we see what we hope for, and that's not necessarily the truth or what we believe. And I always say, what you believe is still not fact. It's something you've grown to learn as a child or through your childhood. We're all products of our childhood. So a lot of times we are filling in the blanks. A lot
Mhm.
of times we're making excuses for what really is not. A lot of times we could be creating intention where it was never really spoken. So
Yeah.
we want to make sure that you don't assign feelings to situations that were never ever expressed, or that you don't build an entire relationship around potential instead of reality.
And I like what you said because it can be something negative too. It can, make run someone who is healthy away because now you're upset or you think something differently because
Mhm,
healthy relationships really aren't built on assumptions. They're really built on
mhm,
clarity. We always say it in curiosity and
mhm.
communication and
Right,
communication.
right.
And I know one of the questions that I put in our group today had to be, it was about, do you like the person because of who they are or because of how they make you feel?
Mhm,
And one of the reasons I put it out there, no right or wrong answer, but oftentimes in that moment, based on what you heard, you feel a certain way.
mhm,
Sometimes it's completely opposite from what they meant or what they exactly said.
mhm.
Um, for example, I think we gave the example of, this person texts me every morning, good morning. That means we're dating now. He's really into me or she's really into me. And it just means they just text good morning.
And could be texting you and five other people good morning
Yeah.
every morning.
Yeah.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you, Dr. Smith. Good to see you, Tremaine Jones. Thank you for joining us. Share, call all your friends. Let them know we're on.
So, we always want to give you, let's start with the why. So, one of the reasons we do it is when we're lonely. And, that's easy if you're recently divorced or you've been waiting for years for love, or when you feel like, especially at our age, maybe that time is running out.
Mhm,
And so those are all reasons. But again, understanding why you do something and then um, making sure you move to a place with, okay, I know why. Because what do you always say, Conti, about discovery is the best?
the best recovery. Hmm.
Yeah. Discovering why we do things a certain way is just part of the healing process, too.
Hmm. Absolutely. And we date, unfortunately, we date potential.
Mm.
And, I always say potential is not doing nothing now. That's really what it is. And I used to, before I became less descriptive, I would say, ain't doing ish now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you want to make sure that one of the greatest mistakes that we as people do is that we date because we're looking at what can something become instead of what you actually are seeing, hearing, watching. Again, I always talk about the two eyes, two ears, one mouth. So a lot of times we're trying to create something that is really not there. And the other thing is our nervous system. People sometimes hear what they want to hear. You're right, Tremaine. And so our brain also
Yeah.
is working too. Our brain wants to tell us one thing. We like someone, our brain's collecting evidence. It's
Hmm.
collecting evidence, it's collecting support of what we want, not of what it really is. And so we have to be careful because we will ignore the contradiction. That's why, you all hear me and Demi talk a lot about boundaries, standards. If you have that, that's your roadmap. I don't care what it look like. I don't care what they say. I don't care what your brain's telling you. You following those boundaries, those standards, those non-negotiable. It is a track record and a blueprint for you to be able to easily decide whether this is somebody that's really going to align with you or whether this is your hoping that potential is going to turn out to be your knight in shining armor.
And that's why part of the question is you don't you're not into someone because of how they make you feel, because feelings can change like the wind.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
have to take the time to get to know who they are.
Hmm.
Once you know who they are, then you love that person, you're into the person, you're wanting to get more because of them, because of what they stand for, because of those things that are listed, the standards, the non-negotiables, the integrity, all the things that you list that you're looking for. ultimately, yes, in a relationship, it's going to keep those feelings there, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't base everything on what I'm feeling. And we just talked about this because someone can make you feel like you are the sun, the moon, the stars, but they're love bombing you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we explain away the warning signs.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't call because I'm sure he was working. He works a lot. I'm sure he was working a lot today.
Yeah.
You come up with stuff and we explain away the warning signs. And before you know it, you are dating not the person, but you're dating your imagination.
Yeah. And so, I always flip and go to online dating, right? Because that's new. That's a way you can meet people that you never probably would have met before. But I'll give you an example there. Sometimes this is the biggest one. They'll have listed in their online profile friendship. I'm
Mm,
looking for friendship. But
mm,
it'll say friendship, it'll say relationship, it'll kind of say everything. They're casting this big net out. And
mhm,
someone will see their profile and say, I'm looking for friendship first too. I want that person to be my friend. And many people immediately think, perfect. I want my spouse to be my best friend because you'll ultimately be that. But that's not what they really said.
mhm,
What they said is friendship can absolutely become love, right? But if they specifically say they're looking for friends, believe them.
mhm.
They're not looking for something long term because
Yeah,
someone looking for long term is
it's
just
going to say that. Mhm.
long term.
Yeah.
So you don't match hoping you'll become the exception.
Mhm, mhm.
You can't date and you said it's somebody's potential.
That's right.
But that's one of the things that we have to know because it's also not just what they say, but it's what they don't say.
Mm. It's real good. That's real good. And my background, I've helped with trauma and trauma informed counseling for many years. And so let's not let trauma get involved. Your
Yeah.
trauma start making things worse because your trauma is like, I can't lose this person. I don't want to feel abandoned. Your trauma starts speaking like uh your nervous system is saying all types of stuff and it's filling in information that's really not true. He's going to do the same thing that the other one did, or she's going to do the same thing that the other one did. So I need to do this, or I need to do that, or I need to make sure I call because I don't want them to think that I'm not interested, or whatever. Just all the stuff that trauma will say to us. And I always say trauma is not truth. But if you don't heal from trauma, you will be repeating the same unhealthy behaviors, a little bit like we talked about last week about unhealthy behaviors and unhealthy habits.
Yeah. And again, I always say we're talking about, I need to, because we talk all the time, right? But I always say, dating is not necessarily, or dating differently is not like rocket science, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And, but you just talked about the playbook, right? Which is
mm-hmm,
understanding what your non-negotiables are,
mm-hmm,
knowing what your standards are, knowing what you're really looking for and understanding that, and then being able to take a step back when maybe you're feeling really emotional, right? Or maybe you're feeling a little under pressure. I'm into sports too, and I talk about in basketball, you're on the free throw line. Even pros do this, right?
mm-hmm,
Those free throws, and usually on any day they can shoot them all day long. But when everybody's watching, right? Whether it's your family, your friends,
yeah. No, you can't do it.
all of a sudden you can't do it because the pressure is on.
Uh-huh,
That
uh-huh.
kinda happens, it's like that in dating when
Right.
you're when that other person is putting the pressure on, when they're
Mm-hmm,
telling you everything you wanna hear, and when
mm-hmm,
you haven't matched with someone in 2 or 3 months, or haven't matched with someone that maybe looks that way, or sounds
mm-hmm,
that way, or drives that car, um,
mm-hmm,
you feel, or when we get our age, you start getting in mid to late 50s and you start thinking,
mm-hmm,
time is almost up. I'm 60 something years old. All of those things matter. But those are things that kind of we put pressure on ourselves.
mm-hmm.
I say about dating differently, it's not rocket science, but it is something that you always want to continue to practice and look at. It's because it's putting practice into the playtime, right? Putting all that practice into play. And so, you said that. I always like to give examples. When you all hear, I'm not ready for anything serious. But when we're in that unhealed space, or in a space where we feel like we have to rush or time is up and we're under pressure, people can hear they're just scared. They've been hurt before. I'll show them real love. No, what they're telling you is exactly what it is they want. They're not looking for anything serious. Believe today's version of it, not tomorrow's fantasy.
I always say reality is your friend. Sometimes people don't want to stare reality in the face, but reality is your friend. Reality is going to keep you from being hurt. Reality is going to keep you from being disappointed. Not that you have to be pessimistic. You can definitely be optimistic, but reality is reality. So you don't want to be optimistic about something that reality is. It is like paint written on the wall that this person has told you they're not trying to be in something serious. They just want to be your friend or what have you. And you are still walking around in la la land. So you want to make sure that, healthy love doesn't require constant interpretation. Healthy love doesn't require that deserves to be said again for the people in the back.
Say it one more time.
Healthy love, y'all might want to put this in the notes, does not require constant interpretation.
Yeah.
You've got to continue to try to figure it out. I always tell people I help heal minds. I don't read them. And if you got to continue to try to figure it out, read their mind, interpret what they're saying, you're just trying to make up something, because it's usually not that unclear. And even if it's that unclear, then that's a big, where's my no button? That's a big no. If it's that unclear. Because if you got to keep it, because someone that's healthy and serious, even if it's not you, if you're not the one, they'll quickly say, it may not be, we may not work out, but this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the one, or I'm looking for this, or I'm not looking for the one. I have so much going on in my life, in my work, I can't commit right now. And you're thinking, oh, but I can make him quit, or I can make her commit because, I got money, or I'm fine, or whatever. Look, you're living in delusional. It's right, Dr. Rock. Delusional to think a little something is better than a lot of nothing. You're living in delusional. So, and it doesn't require detective work. If you got to do some detective work, if you got to be looking around and snooping and checking and following Facebook pages and stalking people online, it doesn't require that. That's not healthy love. It doesn't require all of those things. It doesn't require, actions always speak louder than promises. And so we got to go with the actions, not the promises, because let me see what you're doing. Let me hear and see what you're doing, because patterns speak louder than apologies. What's your pattern? If this is your same pattern, that's going to be your pattern 5 months from now, 5 weeks from now, 5 years from now.
And I would say it's going to be even worse.
Absolutely.
Because people put their best foot forward in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And so if your best is this during a honeymoon stage, or when I first meet you, or in a couple of weeks, then it's going to be worse. Right. I had some examples that I wanted to pull up, because I want to make sure that we go a little deeper and just tell people, because these are things we always hear. How many of you have ever heard, I'm really busy, right? Sometimes that can mean you're not my priority. You don't have to figure out which one. You just, like you just said, you just have to continue to observe, because sometimes they are really busy. Sometimes it is work. Sometimes it is other personal things that are happening, specifically at our age. You have elderly parents. There are some things that just are what they are.
But let me say this. I don't think.
I was about to say it too, because if someone wants to build something with you, they're going to make room.
I'm one of the busiest people on the continent, on the planet. I don't care how busy you are, I don't think that you can be too busy for someone you want to make time for. That's the difference.
Exactly.
When
And I
you,
knew you were going to say that
yes, when
because it
you
is.
make time for someone, you will figure it out. You will move some stuff around. You will make time. Now, do you need to do this all the time? No, because you don't need to give so much access. You don't need to totally give up your life because someone wants to see you. But you want to give the effort and you want to see the effort. If they are so busy, they're not making effort, then that's your answer.
Yeah.
That is your answer.
It's a tough one. It's a tough pill to swallow sometimes
Mhm,
for all of us.
mhm,
So
mhm.
here's another one. Let's just see where this goes. I like things to be organic.
Well, let me tell you what I say about that. I always give this example. So let's, I like to fly, I like to travel, but I'm not trying to travel on a plane. And the pilot gets on and say, "Hi, welcome everybody. We are excited to have you on board. Just sit back and relax, and we're going to just see where we go. We haven't decided yet where our destination is, but we'll get there when we get there, and we will let you know." Absolutely not.
Exactly. Well, and even when we give these examples, no, there's no right or wrong answer. You just have to know what's right or wrong for you.
For you.
People have the time and they're like, you know what? This is a mystery gift. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to hop on and do this mystery vacations. There's even travel agents or travel companies that build those kind of secret destinations. You don't know, you purchase it and you get there and you get what you get. But you just have to know where you're going. Again, going back to you said, what's your list?
Yep. My 5 stages of vetting. The first stage is, what do you desire?
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you want? And you guys can get that on the relationship lab, y'all, at drcontespeaks.com. What is it that you desire? And a lot of times you have to see it to be it. You have to see, you can't get what you don't realize you want. So that starts with you. And because there's an old saying, and I can't really say how it goes, but if you don't know what you want, something about you'll fall. If you can't fall for something, you'll fall for anything, whatever. So I don't know how it goes. My sisters always tease me because I get sayings mixed up. But the point is, you need to know what you want. How are you going to have somebody that you want to come into your life, and but you don't even know where you want to go? What are you looking for? How do they guide you? Definitely, you want someone who has that masculine personality, and they're a planner, and they're this or they're that. But you got to know what you want. I always say, even a 5-year-old knows whether she wants chicken nuggets or a hamburger. So if you're 45 or 55 or 65 and you don't know what you want, then you're not. Some ingredients is missing in being the cake.
That's so funny. So I'm gonna take it to the other side. Just what me, the other side of making something out of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And you all know, you hear me say there, because there's another meaning to it. When the relationship ends and you feel like you have nothing, you just, that's exactly when you have the opportunity to build something.
Mm-hmm.
Not another relationship, but to build yourself, to build your confidence, to, build your friendships up, to build your routines, to build your peace. Because if you don't make some
ingredients in the cake,
if you don't make something meaningful out of being alone, that's when you really start to settle for just anything to avoid loneliness.
Yes. Absolutely.
And one of the things that I often say as I coach, when you're in the dumps, the only thing that you can pick up is trash.
Mm-hmm.
So healing first
Mm-hmm.
is changes what you're willing to accept.
And thank you, Dr. Rob. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for everything. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. See, y'all know what I be talking about.
He said that's what I was trying to say.
Right there. So you gotta know what you want. You gotta stand for what you want. You gotta stand for something. Or you gonna fall for everything.
It's so funny. So when I always say ask yourself instead of assuming, what did they actually say? Like, what did they actually say?
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening. Am I listening or am I translating? Am I dating who they are, like you said, or who they become? And then what's the evidence that supports my expectations?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I often tell my clients too, stop interviewing potential.
Yeah.
Stop interviewing potential and start evaluating their patterns and their actions, because potential does not create a healthy relationship. Consistency does. What you are seeing on a consistent basis is what's going to create a healthy relationship. And if you are seeing on a consistent basis that they're not lining up with what they say, what you think they said is not what they said, their actions are not what you want them to be, and you are just making something up, be honest with yourself. I spoke at Wheeler Baptist Church last Saturday, and we were talking about how to go from trauma to blooming again. And so my first lesson in that was, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to tell the truth to you. And so a lot of times, if you are making something out of nothing, then you are not being honest with yourself. And that's the first step to going from trauma to blooming again. You got to you can't fool you. You can fool a lot of people a long time, but you can only fool yourself a little while. And it is time to come clean with yourself and be honest with yourself, and have, how we always say, I had to have a come to Jesus meeting with somebody else. Have a come to Jesus meeting with yourself and say, girl, look, you've been doing this for 20, 30 years. You've been having these same unhealthy patterns for 20 some years or 40 some years, or what have you. It is time to come to realizations. If you want different, you have to do different. And don't make up what you want. Look for what you want, and don't settle for something that's not.
And then I'll add to that, for those that haven't been doing it that long, because we're dealing with people that were married for a long period of time, or in long-term relationships, and now they're new to this game, or empty nesters.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're ready to date. That's where you have to say, dating is like that same thing. We know the basics. We should listen instead of just assuming, just like you said. We know we need to pay attention to people's actions instead of just the words. We know that. We know we shouldn't ignore red flags in a relationship. But when emotions get involved and we really like the person and we don't want to lose the opportunities, and our friends are asking us questions and our family is putting pressure on us, that's when we forget those fundamentals. And so, we talk about slow is the new sexy, but sometimes not moving at all, meaning just stand still.
Yep.
Just stand still. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. Evidence separate fantasy from reality. Yes, it does. Every day, evidence is going to separate fantasy from reality. You can have a fantasy, but every day you're going to see the evidence of what's really happening. And to piggyback on what you were just saying, we know the red flags. We know this. So wisdom is twofold. And so the first part of wisdom is knowing what to do. And that's the part we all typically get pretty good. We know what to do. But the second part of wisdom is now having the courage to do what you know. Yeah. And so that's when I say, have that come to Jesus meeting with yourself and have the courage to say, this is what I've been doing. This is the pattern I've had. I want better. I need to do better. I want different. I have to do different. And trust yourself, like push yourself, because trauma will tell you, like you said, Demi, you're lonely. No, everybody's got somebody but you. But trauma is not truth. And I really want to have, I always say, we can come and motivate you. We can come and inspire you. But I like to impact, because impact requires change and action. Yeah. And so when you're dealing with things that are truth about you, it's time to just really be factual and honest and have that courage to make the change.
Yeah.
Nobody can do it for you. You can get all this information. We come with some dynamite. I know we do. Dynamite information every week. But we can't do it for you. We had to learn and do things for ourselves. And just like you all do.
Yeah. But reach out. Reach out. Reach out to us on our social media platforms.
Ooh, Leela, I can tell. I'm gonna pop this up for you. Give me 1 minute.
I see Leela.
So, Leela, you must be new to our podcast. So, welcome, girl. So, we often talk about this. What is dating? Dating is gathering information. That
Say
is
it
all
again.
it is. Dating is gathering information. That is all dating is. You are gathering information. You're learning who this person is. You're getting to know who they are. You're checking to see if what they say is absolutely true. You're just gathering information. And if you have worked on your standards, your boundaries, your non-negotiables, what your desires are, my 5-step vetting process, then as you're gathering information, they may not make it to the standards. They may not meet your standards, or they may not meet your boundaries, or they have crossed your non-negotiables, or they don't even have what you desire. So it starts there, figuring out those things first. And then when you date, you're just gathering information, checking off the list.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Thank you. Great question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it. I love today. I love today.
All right. Well, again, we will be back as we are always every week. If this conversation spoke to you, tell 10 friends, and I'm bring 10 people back next week. If it spoke to you, please be sure to follow us on our Dating Differently podcast, our Facebook pages, subscribe to our YouTube pages, all of those things, and follow both of us on both of our social media platforms, because and join us every week. Every week we're here on every Wednesday, 7:30 on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. So join us on those times, because we want to make sure that you are dating, gathering information with clarity, and that you are moving with intention. We also want to make sure that you choose with confidence, and that we look forward to seeing you every week, so that we can continue to help you love intentionally,
heal completely, and date differently.
All right, y'all, be blessed. Thank you for joining us. See you next week.
Bye.